Episode 46. Scientology. Is it a religion or a cult?
Oh, yeah, baby. This one's going to be super interesting.
Yes, and so highly requested from you guys. So many people want to know more about it.
Everybody's absolutely fascinated by it because of the element of secrecy that they keep around them. Like, other than what we know from, like, Leah Remini. Am I saying her name right? I don't want to butcher her name.
I think so. I know it's Leah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because, like, we all know, probably have seen her show, Scientology in the Aftermath. So I'm sure some of you out there probably know some things about it, but there's that doesn't get into the meat of it, or like who L. Ron Hubbard is, his background, which is fucking crazy, and just all of the really bizarre things that have gone on.
Her show's more focused on experiences people have had.
Yeah, and like defactors that are coming forward and giving their stories about all the crazy shit that's happened to them while they were a part of the church. So we will get into that today. But one of the things I wanted to announce today is that we have got pop sockets in the Mile Higher merch store. So
pop sockets.
If you like pop sockets, which
why does it rhyme?
Why'd you say that? That's probably where they.
No,
they
it just
got
came
the
to
name
my
from.
head. Pop sockets.
But anyway, pop sockets are now in the store. They're Mile Higher Podcast official ones. So definitely want to check those out. And you get 10% off if you use the code Mile Higher, and that's milehighermerch.com. But let's get right into things. Today's Patreon question comes from Lindsay, and she said, if intelligent extraterrestrial life was discovered or came forward, how do you think humanity would react? How would we react?
I think it's really hard to say how you would react until that is actually happening, because it's easy to say like, oh, I'd be like so stoked, and I'd be like, yo, aliens. People always say that, like, I'd be so excited. And yeah, no, I'd be excited. I'd be more ready than most. I think most people will shit their damn pants.
Oh, yeah. That's what some people will lose their shit for sure. They'll be like, what? Yeah. We're not alone?
Yeah. Because some people haven't even, accepted that part of it. At least we know that we're not alone, probably.
Yeah.
So it would just be like, oh, they're coming. It's not just like also, oh, there are.
Well, also, I think it will matter
that
what they fucking look like, too. I think what they look like will judge.
I totally agree.
A lot based upon what these aliens look like, or whatever race comes forward.
Like if they're teddy bears, everyone's gonna want to go up and hug them. But if they're like giant praying mantis looking fucking things with guns, it's gonna be a little scary. And I don't know if I'm gonna want to like welcome them.
Yeah, or like a bunch of little grays, like a little gray aliens, like your typical.
I don't know. I think those ones I could handle though, because they're cute and they like kind of look like humans and they look like worms ish. Yeah, well, maybe I would rather that than the praying mantis idea is so creepy. If you have not heard of this, there are a lot of like people that have leaked, like have insider information or leaked stuff, and they claim to know that there is a species of alien that is mantis that resembles
similar.
Which I mean, we don't know if they're telling the truth. Obviously, take that with a grain of salt, or like a big. But grain
why
of salt,
not? I mean, why
a
not?
large chunk of salt. Maybe
a couple packets, but
yeah, a couple packets. Yeah,
but who knows? I mean, I think for one, humanity, I think it'll be a split thing. Obviously, I think some people will be like, rejoice. Some people might treat them like gods and be like, oh, look, the gods are here. People that worship aliens, like there's people that do, and think that aliens are like somehow going to come to Earth and save us from everything that's horrible and gone bad on this planet, but that may not be the case. I mean, it just really depends on what their intentions are. They could be here to be like, oh, hey, welcome. Come be an interstellar civilization. What if they literally
say, like, we come in peace?
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, cool.
Hollywood got it right.
Yeah. Or maybe they, like, are watching all the Hollywood movies and they're like, we should use this phrase. They seem to like this.
Yeah.
We come in peace. Maybe they'll understand what we're trying to say.
Maybe.
Because if I was aliens, I'd be like studying our media and like what we watch and culture of humans and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Before we just show up.
No, they would know everything there is to know about human beings and life on this planet.
It's really wild thinking about this actually happening. Like, what would you do? Your whole life would just change in an instant. Like everything.
The Earth would feel so small.
What would you do? Would you just stay home and watch the news, or do you like go outside and run around? Like, what do you do when? I don't know.
Who do you send forward to talk with them and like?
Well, not us.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trump.
Yeah.
You're up, boy.
Side note, I saw that. I just saw.
You'd actually probably do a decent job.
What's so funny is I just saw you retweeted this GIF that somebody made of Trump like walking across the like front lawn of the White House.
Yeah.
And then side by side with like an alleged video of Sasquatch. And it's hilarious.
It looks so similar. It
their
really
walk
does.
is like the same. It's really
does.
funny. But anyways, in other space news. Oh shit. Can't do it without the new intro. Sorry guys.
And now it's time for woke news this week.
All right, thank you, Morgan. Let's get right into it.
Morgan.
Yeah, you know we don't pay him for nothing, so
we pay him a lot. Yeah. Okay,
we paid a lot for
He's
that.
He's literally over in the corner waiting for that.
He's a big fan of the podcast.
All right.
Other news and space news or woke news. This past week or the week before, NASA put another rover on Mars. If you didn't know, which whoop-de-doo, right? They put a new rover on Mars called InSight. But after they did, yeah. But seriously,
congratulations.
Good job, Nat. We're so proud of you. You know, you've just held us back from interstellar travel and space travel. So anyway,
but we'll maybe forgive you.
But maybe we'll forgive you because NASA was like the Curiosity rover, which is the rover that's been up there for a while. That's just been roving around the surface of Mars, looking for shit. No,
Could that be a word? Roving?
Yeah, roving. Yeah, roving on Mars.
Roving.
Roving.
I wonder if it has music on its little roving around.
Dude, that isn't that just wild though that there's like this little remote controlled rover? Like, who knows what's fucking there? And it's just like cruising along the surface.
What if you're an alien just chilling and then like all of a sudden like this thing like goes by? You're like what planet is that from?
Oh, what the hell's that? Where'd that come from?
It's like a metal spider. What is that? Doesn't they kind of look like that? The little rovers?
They have like little wheels on them and stuff to go over it. But yeah, I mean, it's like a little remote control car. But anyway, Curiosity rover found a mysterious shiny object on the Mars surface.
Oh, cool.
And NASA has nicknamed this object Little Colonsay.
Colonsay?
Because it resembles Colonsay in Scotland, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So there's a picture of it, and it just looks like a picture taken by the rover, but it does look like the object itself looks very odd. It definitely looks shiny, like it's reflecting light or something. And honestly, it doesn't look that natural to me compared to like other rocks around it, but I'm not sure. But basically,
it just looks like a rock to me, to be honest.
Really? Well, that's the thing. And NASA is saying that it might be a meteorite, which it does sort of look like a meteorite, but it's kind of weird looking, isn't it? Like what? It could look like a piece of like an alien's Chipotle, aluminum foil wrap, like or something.
Stop. How big is that thing?
It's small. It's
it's small?
It's small, yeah.
Then what are they? What?
So they don't know what it is. And
it's the only way... a piece of copperite or something.
Maybe, or yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's most likely probably an iron meteorite because they found 6 other on the surface of Mars. So they look similar, but they're not able to say like definitively that it's, just another meteorite. But obviously, whenever we find something on Mars that is possibly not natural, a lot of people like to jump or, introduce other perspectives of maybe it's something not made from.
Well, what's their ideas?
Well, I mean, aliens always come into the conversation, so they think maybe it's a piece of rubble or debris but it's like, why would they just leave some random shit like laying out on Mars, So some people are saying it could be like pieces of a spacecraft. I mean, who knows? It could be anything. So it's, as of right now, until they test the chemistry and stuff, we don't know exactly what this object is, but the reason why this even made sort of like headlines is because it's different enough from other meteorites that it causes them to question it, is basically what they're saying. So we are not sure what it is, and we'll have to just wait and see. And who knows what else they'll find on Mars. And I'm looking forward to when we go to or China goes to the dark side of the moon, or somebody does.
Yeah.
Because I want to know what the fuck's going on.
Someone say they were doing that like by 2020.
Yeah, China is, I think.
Dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool. What if it's just nothing though?
What if it's just like hollow? Like what if it's just like a giant mouth to like a cave? Like,
I wonder if like other country. Do you think?
Well,
I'm about to go into a whole nother thing. It'll just open up so many things.
Well, let's save that for a moon discussion. We should do another talk about artificial moon and the evidence for that, because when you start talking about that, that's really interesting stuff.
No, I was going to talk about something different, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into our last story for today, just quickly want to thank our new sponsor, Storyworth, which is a great holiday gift. So how does this Storyworth work? So basically you purchase a subscription for someone you love, and each week Storyworth sends them an email with a question about their life, with a new question each week for a year. The person then replies to the email with their story, or they can record it over the phone by calling the Storyworth number. All stories are private and only shared with the family that you choose. And after a year, the stories will be bound into a beautiful hardcover book. So basically, in other terms, it's a way for you to capture memories from your relatives, especially like people from older generations that, want to somehow.
It's like a legacy video, but like easier and done over time.
In a book, and they just email the answers into Storyworth. This is so
good.
And it collects it over a full year. So you have a full book of all of these like personalized stories, and you can invite whoever you want. You could do your parents. A lot of people do their grandparents, because that's like, if your grandparents are savvy enough.
I've been trying to do this with my grandma, and she like the idea of being on camera that long is like tiring.
Well, this you don't be on camera.
Like, exactly. So but they can record it voice wise. This would be a lot better for them.
Wouldn't it?
And it's day by day, so it's not so overwhelming. My grandmother has Alzheimer's. I think sitting down for that long would be like too much.
Well, I thought it was talking about your other grandma.
But her too, yeah. I kind of want to give this to
because you
got
to be able to like email and be able to like call, and somebody would have to like help her call and stuff. But
yeah, well, she knows how to call. She can. Well, maybe the nurses can help her.
But yeah, it's a great way for you and your family to preserve your memories, and then pass on this treasure that is this book.
That's the point of doing
to future generations. So, and you can save and edit all your stories on Storyworth.com. It's a great gift for the holidays for your loved one who enjoys telling stories. So I've thought even about sending to my parents. Because one of the great things is like, you don't have to be in the same geographic location. You can just, email it to them, and then, my parents can answer all these questions about our family and things like that. I think that'd be kind of cool. So we'll definitely be doing that. But who are you giving this gift in your family? Share one of their great stories that was memorable. Oh shit, sorry. Wrong thing. Sorry, get $20 off when you subscribe at storyworth.com/milehigher. That's storyworth.com/milehigher. Gets you $20 off. Pretty cool. All right. So the second topic is something very interesting about MK Ultra, Project MK Ultra, which we haven't covered on this podcast yet, which we need to, because a lot of papers and things are being declassified and now being released to the public. And there's these newly released files from a category called behavior modification or mind control, which projects conducted as part of Project MK Ultra reveal that the CIA experimented in more than controlling humans with psychotropic drugs, electric shocks, and radio waves. They also created field operational remote controlled dogs.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. That's what they were doing back then. Imagine what they're fucking doing now, dude.
Right?
Oh my God.
So if you've ever seen Stranger Things, there's like these like dogs. It just like Project MK Ultra and Stranger Things does a good job of like kind of showing some of that, MK Ultra-esque like stuff.
Yeah.
With the like mutated genetically engineered dogs and stuff. So this is very interesting.
Fuck?
So how do we know that this is true? Well, documents were provided under the Freedom of Information Act by John Greenwald.
So it's true.
Yes, who is founder of the Black Vault, which is a site I've talked about in the past that has a treasure trove of declassified government docs in every category: UFO, aliens, MK Ultra. Definitely check out his site. But he sends in all these Freedom of Information Act requests, and a lot of them get denied. A lot of them he just gets like bullshit back, but occasionally he'll get some good stuff. And that's where he got this document or file named C00021825, which a redacted individual writes to a doctor whose name has also been redacted with advice about launching a laboratory for experiments in animal mind control. The writer of the letter is already an expert in the field whose earlier work had culminated with the creation of 6 remote control dogs, which could be made to run, turn, and stop.
Wow. That's wild.
They were doing some wild shit in MK Ultra, man.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. Wow. And it's really hard to believe that these types of programs would just like stop suddenly, and like stop and be shut down, and nothing like it exists today. Nope. A lot of people think that. A lot of people are like, oh, that was just, in the past. They're not doing that today.
Oh, of course not. They knew they couldn't keep it secret because people that were part of it started talking, started sharing their stories and witness accounts. So they had to release stuff.
Yep. So they're starting to release a bunch of stuff. And this letter, the writer of this letter categorizes the work with remote controlling dogs as a success, describing a demonstrated procedure for controlling the free field behaviors of an unrestrained dog. Wow. If that is in fact true, that is crazy to think about, and how he did that. And I feel bad for these dogs that they had to go through that, because I'm sure it wasn't pleasant for them to get to that point of being remote controlled. How do you even do that? With like,
oh, so they were real dogs?
Yeah. According to this letter, it confirms that this was a successful experiment, whatever you want to call it, and that they were able to...
I thought they were like robotic dogs or something.
No, these are real dogs that they controlled their minds.
Oh, that's horrible.
Oh, you thought they were like robot dogs or something, or like hybrids or something?
Yeah, I thought it was some like fucked up experiment.
No,
thing.
Dude, this is hybrids, like on animals.
Oh my God.
This confirms they experimented on just normal dogs. And check this out. One file that has previously been declassified also details how with heavy redactions, the practical possibilities of training and equipping cats for foreign situation field work was also successful.
Oh my God.
So they were not only testing mind control on humans, but on all types of animals as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it's the very least of what they're doing to animals, honestly.
Oh yeah, I'm sure what they're actually doing would just scare us.
Oh yeah, it would for sure.
So I just thought that was really interesting, because I mean, there's just to think that things like that were happening and could still be happening. And, there's a lot of people that believe that there could be these top secret programs in the government that are doing, genetical engineering on humans and animals and creating hybrid humans and things like that. Like imagine like a human that's like mixed with tiger DNA, what that would be like. Or like they could be doing some crazy fucked up shit like that for all we know. I mean, if they were doing this, then why wouldn't they?
Oh, that's so weird.
Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of these programs are done for military advancement. So I think what they're trying to do is trying to figure out ways to improve their, military force and make like the ultimate soldier, kind of have the ultimate like killing machine in mind controlled humans, animals, hybrids, whatever. Or this is some type of, experiments that were helping, the Illuminati, whatever, control everybody. So I don't know.
God,
really interesting stuff,
really
though.
Bizarre.
But yeah, if you're interested in reading more about this, I'll link Mr. Greenwald's site below, the Black Vault. It's very interesting stuff. Lots of interesting finds on there. All right, but before we get into Scientology, is it a cult or is it a religion? We want to thank Quip for sponsoring today's episode. When you think of the perfect gift, you probably don't think of an electric toothbrush, but the Quip electric toothbrush is one of the most gift-guided gifts of the season, and here's why. They have sensitive sonic vibrations, which is really nice. It doesn't like tear away your gums like some other toothbrushes do.
It's huge very difference. Gentle. It's very gentle.
It doesn't have a clunky charger, which it doesn't have any charger. The battery runs for 3 months at a time, and then you get another a battery. Quip is the gift that keeps refreshing, with brush heads automatically delivered on a dentist recommended schedule every 3 months for just $5, which is great because I don't know many people that know to rotate their toothbrush as often as they should.
Time flies.
It does. It's easy to forget that. So.
Oh, yeah.
And you can even gift prepaid refills for a year to make sure they're never using old, worn out, or ineffective bristles. So you can gift a Quip toothbrush for $25 and then get a free refill pack with it for free. And you can gift that to anybody out there and give them the one toothbrush they'll never have to, they'll never have to get another one again or another type. So that's why we love Quip and why they have over 5,000 verified 5-star reviews. Quip looks at the big ticket tech gift with a stocking stuffer price starting at just $25. And if you go to getquip.com/milehigh right now, You get your first refill pack for free with a Quip electric toothbrush, but you don't have to tell your giftee that. That's your first refill pack free at GETQUIP.
Oh, that's nice.
.com/milehigher. All right, are you ready for this shit?
I'm ready for this shit.
Oh man, Scientology, guys. Whew, what a beast this thing is.
It's some shit. It is some shit.
I'm going to try to, first of all, I want to just say I'm going to go into this open-minded and, it's quick to judge based upon experiences that you've heard people have with a particular religion or cult. And I think it's easy to forget that there's a reason that people do it. And when you look at Scientology, you have to understand that people willingly go into this. It's not like Scientology, as far as we know, kidnaps people or forces people into it. They do, might pressure you, but they don't force your hand into this religion or cult. So I think it's important to just be open about
that's true
it all, because at the end of the day, as you'll learn, there is obviously some good nuggets of wisdom in here and things like that is actually helpful with it.
Well, I see little things in it when I've learned about it that show me why people have joined, or because it's very it gives you a purpose. It makes you feel like you have a purpose in your life.
The way I would describe it is it's a self-help religion.
For sure.
It's a self-help religion.
You're growing. It's all about personal growth the entire time. You're marking your growth as you go up.
Right.
And we'll explain that more.
It's a system of growth, and L. Ron Hubbard guides you along the way. So let's talk about the definition of Scientology. What is it? So the word Scientology is taken from the Latin scio, which means knowing in the full sense of the word, and the Greek word logos, meaning study of. It literally means knowing how to know.
Knowing how to know.
Which is interesting because L. Ron Hubbard, knew some stuff. So obviously Scientology is developed by L. Ron Hubbard, and Scientology is a religion that offers a precise path leading to a complete and certain understanding of one's true spiritual nature and one's relationship to self, family, groups, mankind, all life forms, the material universe, the spiritual universe, and the supreme being. Which this is, when I researched this, if you go to the Scientology website, you're going to get a very one-sided view of Scientology. So you have to look at a bunch of different things. But that definition...
Or their channel.
Yeah, or their channel, their TV channel.
The commercial scares the shit out of me.
Yeah.
There's this one guy in it that has, I swear, his whole eyes are black. It's like black-eyed children. It's not the whole eyes, but his whole pupil part.
It looks like
It looks like he's looking in your soul. It's like a little freaky. And I'm like, is this like some fucking mind control to get me to go to the Scientology channel?
Maybe.
Yeah, people, if you didn't know, there's a Scientology channel. I've watched it a few times. It's pretty interesting.
I haven't watched it yet.
But they definitely give you a very, very positive view of Scientology. It's very different than what you hear elsewhere.
And something else that you don't hear from them, and this is because you don't find out about this, apparently, as a Scientologist till the very highest levels, which are called the OT levels.
Which we haven't even explained. There's a level system, but we will explain that.
So there's different levels to Scientology, and at the highest level is when you find out that a central belief with Scientology is that 75 million years ago, 13.5 trillion aliens were banished to Earth by a warlord called Xenu.
Okay.
Which Xenu, from what I understand, is also an alien or extraterrestrial. So to compound their misfortune, these exiled aliens were dropped into volcanoes and vaporized with nuclear bombs.
Damn.
Yeah, that's craziness. Their souls, known to Scientologists as Thetans, then latched on to humans. They believe these Thetans are the source of many of our problems, both emotional and social.
Okay.
So that was what was so interesting to me is why there's a reason they wait till you're really invested in it.
So
to
someone
tell you
ditched on this and told because when someone just look it up.
Well, people like Mike Rinder and senior executive defectors that used to be at those highest levels were this is the secret info they tell you in the OT levels.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, if I got to that point and was this is what it's based on, I'd be like, are you fucking serious? I just spent millions of dollars and now I'm finding out.
But yeah, actually you spend a lot by that point.
Oh yeah.
It's expensive. Scientology is expensive, which is a lot of people don't know that either.
It's very expensive. Courses cost thousands of dollars. It's like college tuition for
and you have to
years.
pay for books.
Yeah.
And like courses and stuff.
So basically Scientologists believe that in order for one to become at ease with one's unconscious self, a person must take part in a series of audits with a trained Scientology counselor, which I'll talk more in detail about later. But by doing so, Scientologists basically rise up in seniority and enlightenment through this grading system that they have. So, the controversial Church of Scientology had its beginnings in 1950 with the publication of the book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health by L. Ron Hubbard, which this guy is a science fiction writer.
I can't believe that. And he's like the starter of this religion. That's so fucking wild.
It is very wild. But according to Hubbard's Dianetic theory, the mind is composed of mental image pictures of every event in a person's life. Memories are pictures of painful events from the past containing pain or unconsciousness are known in Dianetics as engrams. By recalling and erasing these memories, a person can be restored to perfect physical and mental health and analytical functioning. A person whose engrams have all been erased is called a clear. So that's what when they're talking about clearing the whole point of a Scientologist is to become clear, to basically rid themselves of all these physical and mental health engrams, which are...
It's basically to become like holy, or isn't there a Christian word for this? Or like...
It's like nirvana, divine. It's like, it's enlightenment. At the end of the day, what you're going to see with Scientology is basically L. Ron Hubbard, as we'll talk about, he was very interested in Eastern religions and New Age and very much believes in reincarnation, which is at the heart of Scientology. And basically what he did is he took a bunch of science fiction ideas and scientific ideas that he believes were scientific and melded them together with these Eastern religion and ideas to create this idea, and just basically renamed things. So like nirvana is clear. So like a point where you're essentially a god, you're a spiritual divine being.
So you can reach that in like Buddhism, right? Yes. But so there's nothing in Christianity where you're like completely
You're pure, never a god in Christianity. No.
Okay, interesting.
Your soul's never a god.
Okay.
So it's the purpose of Scientology to clear the planet. In other words, that every person in the world will eventually be cleared of his engrams through Dianetic processing. So that's why they have... Their mission is like, we want to clear the world. We want to, essentially rid the world of all these horrible things. And we think based upon our methods, we can get the world there. And that's why they've literally expanded all over the world. But by 1954, L. Ron Hubbard had discovered that in order to be truly clear, a person also had to release all the engrams from his hundreds of past lives. The new science...
Wow, damn. Yeah. That's a lot of work.
The new science of Scientology was founded and organized as a religion to incorporate this belief.
I was going to say, okay, so the first one didn't make a whole lot of sense, because what if someone has none of these engrams or bad memories, or like really has truly had a very lucky life and hasn't gone through that much? Or maybe they've had a few things or have been bullied or something and they get through that shit pretty quick. Then you're like, oh, but your past lives, bitch. There's more.
Which is infinite. I mean, how do you know how many past lives you have?
So very convenient they added that shit in later on and readapted.
There's the
very
hook right
interesting.
there.
Yeah, they're probably having issues with people like, well, I have nothing else bad that happened.
Fine. I guess I'm clear.
I had a good life. My parents loved me.
No.
But in your past life, you were a thief.
Yeah. You murdered somebody in your 5 lives ago.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine? Oh, God, that's so stressful.
It is.
Being accountable for what your past lives did that you don't even remember.
God,
that's so wild.
That would be so shitty to be like stressed out every day. Like, fuck, what did I do in a past life? Oh, what did I do? I have no idea. Yeah, because for all you know, you could be like a horrible person. You could be Jack the Ripper for all you know.
Like, what if they told you some shit like that? Like you were a serial killer, motherfucker. And you can't tell us no because we know.
How do you clear those engrams?
Yeah, seriously. What if you're like, no, I wasn't? They're like, yeah, you fucking were. Because we know.
But that's how they hook you in and they keep you there. Yeah. Is that basically it's like impossible to go clear.
To get to this. Yeah. It's like just an uphill battle. It's so hard.
Oh, yeah. It doesn't matter like how.
Putting a carrot in front of someone.
Yeah. Like your bunnies.
Yeah. I have bunnies now.
Yes. Anyway. But according to the theology of Scientology, a person is actually an invisible entity or thetan or Thetan, which is
a person is?
Mm-hmm.
Just in all people are?
It's like a soul, basically.
Oh, okay.
Basically just saying a Thetan is like a soul.
Okay, so our souls are all Thetans and then we're just bodies for the things.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because that's, so one of the key aspects with Scientology is that even if it doesn't matter what age you are, they never look at you as, the human being or body that you are or the age that you are. They look at your soul. So they consider kids to be the same as an adult. There's no difference because they're talking about them as Thetans or souls.
Yeah.
So as the Thetan becomes relieved of his engrams, he will regain the many godlike powers that are inherently his. Convenient. Powers such as telepathy, exteriorization, which is the ability to separate from his body with full perception.
Oh, so they think they're regaining what they had when they were Thetans.
Before they were Thetans, yeah.
Oh, before they... Oh, okay, so they were Thetans once they were banned.
Which I'm pretty sure goes back to that they think that they're aliens, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
they
what I'm
believe
saying.
that before they were a part of the Xenial. They were
yeah. Well, they think
before.
that you get these powers restored and stuff. So they must think that at one point they were aliens and then they got banished. They were Thetans and now they're like trying to be reborn as alien human things.
Yeah, you got it.
I got it. I'm passed. I'm clear. I'm clear. I understand it now.
They also believe that you could have telekinesis powers, so ability to move objects with your mind.
Like Matilda.
Pretty cool.
That'd be interesting. That'd be very convenient when you're laying in bed and you're like, oh, fuck, I left my phone in the bathroom. Just have it like fly to you.
That'd be so convenient and cool.
Oh, yeah. I wish we had some more powers. I wish we had any powers. Humans have nothing. It's so boring being a human. We have nothing cool we can do.
Well...
Be sweet. Well, we have some.
Depending on how evolved you are, some people can do some cool shit.
I know, but who can fly? I've never seen anyone that can fly or do some crazy shit like that.
Shit, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
So you got the concept down exactly right. So basically, the belief in Scientology is that everyone was once godlike, and that over time we've deteriorated. Mm-hmm. And so the promise of Scientology
turned into pieces of shit. So now we get to feel guilty for something that we don't even know is true.
Yeah, and so the promise is that if you go to the Scientology church and you participate in Scientology counseling, which is called auditing, the person can regain these godlike abilities.
What kind of counseling is called auditing? That is like, okay, so the word audit in like the financial word means like check into your background, like make sure you're not full of shit, basically. Definitely. Audit you.
Like down to every detail.
This is not counseling. This is like humiliation.
This is, we're going to
explain more of what it is.
Expose everything about you and make you face it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a Thetan.
It's like it's worse than like confessional in Catholicism.
Oh, yeah. Because it's easy to
like
lie in that.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd be nervous as fuck.
Well,
I am the worst liar.
You sit in a box and the priest talks to you through like a thing.
See, I would have nothing good to say. I would have nothing interesting. I'd just be like,
What are you confessing today?
I really have nothing to confess.
I cursed or something like that.
Nothing's coming to mind.
Maybe you should go to confessional sometime. So back to Scientology, they believe that everybody's a Thetan, and once they are restored to a godlike state, they become an operating Thetan, which is OT. So that's when I was talking about OT level 3. So you have to be an operating Thetan level 3, which is like one of the highest levels, I believe.
That is such like fantasy lingo. I'm an OT Thetan, blah, blah, blah.
I think to find out the truth, according to Scientology, about your past.
Okay.
But that's the thing is like like the Scientologists like in the church, if they've been asked about this, they like deny it. They're like, oh no, that's not it. But like we got this info from people that were actually at these levels. So
So do you think Tom Cruise is an OT then?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, Tom Cruise is like...
Captain. He's like David Miscavige's best friend.
He's second in command. So if Tom Cruise, the actor...
We'll talk more about him too. Yeah.
But the auditing that they make you go through can cost as much as $1,000 per hour when you're getting up to those higher OT levels in order to attain this high level status of being an operating thetan. Death in Scientology is known as dropping the body. And according to Scientology, when a person dies, the thetan or spirit has been pre-programmed to return to an implant station out in space. In the implant station, the thetan will have all memories from the most recent lifetime electronically erased, and then the thetan will be sent back to Earth to pick up a new body or start another life.
Sounds like a vicious cycle.
Are you guys sensing these science fiction elements to it?
Totally.
So with auditing, Scientology promises that the person can erase this return command so that they will never again have to return to an implant station after death. He will then be a free being, able to drop his body and pick up a new body with full consciousness and self-determinism.
Interesting.
So it's similar to like ideas of Buddhism and things like that in the sense that you keep going over, but they say forcefully put back into new bodies, I assume, to continue to try to achieve that OT status before you can actually reach that, highest level and be free of everything and just kind of be a free being. So Scientologists therefore believe that they are very ancient beings with memories that reach millions of years into the past and that they're inherently immortal. Once the impediments to immortality, the engrams, have been erased. They essentially believe that they can become gods.
And they think that it was just discovered as a religion or made into a religion recently because why? Like, I mean, he just made this religion.
Well, that's the thing. And when we talk about who L. Ron Hubbard, the guy who made up this shit, it'll make a lot more sense. And you'll start seeing the true motives behind it because when you hear all of that, you're like, okay, this does kind of sound like kind of a out there religion, whatever. What's the big deal? Why do we,
why are we being so angry?
Well, let's look at the guy who came up with it. Because when you hear some of the things about him, you're going to be like, whoa, this makes a lot more sense now. So to his followers, L. Ron Hubbard was larger than life. The biographies of Hubbard given within Scientology portray the metamorphosis of this legendary man in stages from youthful prodigy to teenage adventurer to brave war hero to the long-suffering messiah who gave his life for all. Jeez. It's literally what they portray him as. But unfortunately, almost every fact in the Scientology biographies of L. Ron Hubbard is a lie.
Oh my God.
While the legendary accomplishments of him could have come unedited from one of the swashbuckling novels, the true facts of his life reveal quite another picture. So, L. Ron Hubbard, the official biography begins, according to Scientology, was born in Tilden, Nebraska on the 13th of March in 1911. His father was Commander Harry Ross Hubbard of the United States Navy. His mother was Dora May Hubbard. So far, everything is true, but then the biography continues and says, Ron spent his early childhood years on his grandfather's large cattle ranch in Montana, said to cover a quarter of the state. It was on this ranch they learned to read and write by the time he was 3.5 years old. The truth is that Hubbard's grandfather was a small-town veterinarian who did not own a cattle ranch in Montana. After Hubbard and his parents relocated to Helena, Montana, where his father was hired to manage a local theater, the grandparents soon followed, and they bought a house on 5th Avenue, and the grandfather opened the capital city coal company. Story continues. L. Ron Hubbard found the life of a young rancher very enjoyable. Long days were spent riding, breaking broncos, hunting coyote, and taking his first steps as an explorer. For it was in Montana that he had his first encounter with the Blackfoot Indians. He also became a blood brother of the Blackfoot. This is completely made up in the imagination of young L. Ron Hubbard.
Wow,
he actually,
really?
Yep, completely. So Scientology gives you a very, very exaggerated, made-up version of L. Ron Hubbard's life to really make him seem like this great individual and hero of the religion that he is. But in fact, young Ron Hubbard lived with his parents in a small apartment on Rodney Street in Helena. and he attended the local kindergarten. When he was 6 years old, his father enlisted in the Navy after the start of World War I. For the next few years, Ron and his mother followed Harry to a series of port cities where Harry was stationed. By the time he was 12 years old, young Ron Hubbard had read a large number of the world's greatest classics, and his interest in philosophy and religion was born. Ron Hubbard had the distinction of being the only boy in the country to secure an Eagle Scout badge at the age of 12 years old.
Oh, wow.
Which is like, I think,
good.
pretty much impossible. Like that's some like prodigy hard. Shit right there. And I don't think there's even an actual record of this with the Eagles or with the Boy Scouts of America.
So he probably didn't actually do that.
Yes, I mean, there's not proof that he did. But the following years from 1925 to 1929 saw the young Hubbard between the ages of 14 and 18 as a budding and enthusiastic world traveler and adventurer. Having the financial support of his wealthy grandfather, L. Ron Hubbard spent these years journeying through Asia, which would make sense where he might have gotten exposed to, a lot of Eastern religion, Buddhism, and all these ideas. Reincarnation, is a big ideology over there. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. His travel experience.
Mm-hmm. So L. Ron Hubbard was up and down the China coast several times in his teens, from Qinghuangtou to Hong Kong and inland to Peking and Manchuria. In China, he met an old magician whose ancestors had served in the court of Kublai Khan. In the hills of Tibet, he lived with bandits who accepted him because of his honest interest in them and their way of life. In the remote reaches of western Manchuria, he made friends with the ruling warlords by demonstrating his horsemanship. Cough, cough. This does not seem legit to me. But deep in the jungles of Polynesia, he discovered an ancient burial ground steeped in the tradition of heroic warriors and kings. So yeah, this is according to Scientology biographies, that he did all of this and that he was this grand adventurer as a teenager, just traveling the world.
I was going to say, it sounds like he wrote this.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
The truth is a bit more believable. At the age of 13, the Hubbards had moved to Bremerton, Washington, where young Ron was an 8th grader at Union High School. Hubbard enjoyed such activities as hiking and camping at the nearby Boy Scout campground. 2 years later, when Ron was a sophomore at Queen Anne High School, his father was unexpectedly posted to Guam.
So he was not an Eagle Scout? Sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like he was not an Eagle Scout.
Wow.
He rather camped with some Boy Scouts.
Okay.
So his parents, his dad was posted to Guam, and Ron spent this part of the summer there sailing with his mother on the steamship President Madison, with stops in Honolulu, Yokohama, Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Manila. In the spring of his junior year, Ron dropped out of school. 2 years later, Ron was enrolled in the Woodward School for Boys in Washington, D.C. as a substitute for taking the college entrance exam. In 1930, Ron was admitted to George Washington University School of Engineering with a major in civil engineering. So he dropped out of high school, and then he tries to go get into college. And his grades for the first semester range from an A in physical education, a C in mechanical engineering, a D in chemistry, and F's in German and calculus, earning him a D average.
There, Ron.
So definitely not cut out for school. So after a second and similar semester, he dropped out of school. So he just seemed like school was not his thing at all.
So he was like, fuck it, and left.
And he went on to try to say that he had a PhD at one point.
Oh, okay.
Which he ended up having to renounce later when it became learned that the degree had been purchased from a Californian diploma mill.
Yeah, because it sounds like he didn't even graduate high school.
So he's like one of those individuals that could never make it through school or high school, college, and attain that academic status and title of being like, I'm a doctor, I'm a PhD, I'm an expert in physics or whatever. He wanted to be that like smart guy, that guy who has all of those academic credentials, but never could achieve them. So soon after he left college, he married and began his career as a struggling science fiction writer. His stories began to appear regularly in Astounding Science Fiction magazine. In 1941, as the United States was drawn into the Second World War, Hubbard was determined to get into the Navy. He composed his own letter of recommendation for the military. He said, he wrote his own letter, and it said, I have known him for many years and have found him discreet, loyal, honest, and without peer in the art of getting things done swiftly. For courage and ability, I cannot too strongly recommend him. Hubbard's stories of his
naval...
He wrote
that about himself?
Yeah.
Wow.
In order to get into the military.
But he said, I cannot recommend him?
No, he said, I can't... he said, I cannot too strongly recommend him.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So commissioned by the U.S. Navy, Hubbard was ordered to the Philippines at the outbreak of the war and was flown home in the Secretary of the Navy's private plane as the first U.S. returned casualty of the Far East. He served in the South Pacific and in 1942 was relieved and rushed home to take part in the battle against German submarines as commanding officer of a corvette serving in the North Atlantic. After serving in all 5 theaters of World War II and receiving 21 medals and palms, in 1944 he was severely wounded and was taken crippled and blinded to Oak Knoll Naval Hospital. This is according to scientific or Scientology biographies. Now listen to the actual truth about his war career. So the Scientology points him out to be this like war hero. He got 21 medals. He got injured and wounded and had, that's how he got taken home. But in fact, Hubbard's first job in the Navy was a desk job in public relations. He soon requested a transfer to the Navy intelligence. On his way to this posting, he so antagonized the superior officers that they sent him home with an entry in his record that stated, "This officer is not satisfactory for independent duty assignment. He is garrulous and tries to give impressions of his importance. He also seems to think he has unusual ability in most lines. These characteristics indicate that he will require close supervision for satisfactory performance of any intelligence duty."
Wow.
So they were like, dude,
this dude's crazy.
Dude, what are you talking about?
Wow.
You want to do this. You can't even do this. Like, you can't even do this desk job. There's a reason he got a desk job. But Scientology ignores all of this.
Of course they do. It's not very convenient.
So Hubbard was given another desk job. Eventually, however, he worked his way out of this job and into the Submarine Chaser Training Center in Miami, Florida. After a few misadventures on training ships under his command, the following notation was placed in his record. "Consider this officer lacking in the essential qualities of judgment, leadership, and cooperation. He acts without forethought as to probable results, not considered qualified for command or promotion at this time. Recommend duty on a large vessel where he can be properly supervised."
Oh my God, how embarrassing.
Dude.
What an idiot.
But this is painting a perfect picture, hopefully, of what this dude was like. He's like one of those like know-it-all guys that thinks he like knows everything, but he actually doesn't know shit. And he just annoys the fuck out of everybody. So later on, Hubbard was also posted on USS Algol, and the Algol prepared to go into battle. In a strange incident which occurred just before Algol sailed to the Pacific, Hubbard discovered a homemade gasoline bomb in a Coke bottle amidst the cargo being loaded onto the ship. There was an investigation in this curious incident, but the results of the investigation were not recorded. However, that evening, Hubbard was relieved of his duty.
So it seems like they're kind of suspicious that he may have put it there.
Maybe. So according to Scientology, he came home after being crippled and blinded at war, which he then resumed his studies of philosophy, and by his discoveries recovered so fully that he was reclassified in 1949 for full combat duty. It is a matter of medical record that he has twice been pronounced dead, and in 1950 was given a perfect score on mental and physical fitness reports.
So this motherfucker seriously lied about being blinded and crippled in the war. Blinded? Dude, that's ballsy. That's a big ass lie.
And being dead twice. So it's all of this narrative that has been created to paint him as almost like this messiah figure, this sort of, almost godlike individual.
Guy, yeah.
Right.
Eagle Scout at age 12.
But the reality is that Hubbard reported in sick with a suspected ulcer and was hospitalized at Oak Knoll Military Hospital in Oakland, California, where he remained until December 5th, 1945, when he was discharged from the Navy. Contrary to his unreported receiving 21 war medals, he received 4 routine medals, which were awarded to all servicemen serving in this war. He was also awarded a small partial disability rating. So that's his, that's early on in his military days. Not quite as heroic as he and the Church of Scientology make them seem. Now let's get into some darker things that a lot of people I don't think even know about Scientology or know about Hubbard himself. And many people believe that this Scientology is based upon concepts of Satanism or has some things that correlate with it. Because Hubbard's mentor was in fact the infamous English black magician, Aleister Crowley. Which, if you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, very interesting individual. He's somebody that I think we should cover at some point because he had his own cult or order, which we'll talk about in a minute. But a lot of people, especially Christians, obviously say anybody that pretends, quote unquote, to dabble in magic and kind of sorcery, witchcraft, that type of thing. That's what Crowley was into. He's a dark magician. He did all these like ritualistic things, and he had this order that he was basically led. So essentially like a cult. But he, as far as what I know about him, I wouldn't say he was necessarily like a Satanist. Like, I think a lot of people relate him to Satanism because there is Satanist aspects to it. Like Aleister Crowley called himself the Beast, which the Beast in Christian terms is, 666. Satan is another word for it. It's the Beast. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So apparently L. Ron Hubbard reportedly discovered Crowley's works as a teenager on a trip to the Library of Congress with his mother. He was fascinated by Crowley's magic, which is the name of literature, and Crowley became Hubbard's mentor, a relationship that would last until Crowley's death in 1947. And in one of his later lectures, Hubbard referred to Crowley as my good friend. So Crowley's most famous work was called The Book of the Law, in which he expressed his philosophy of life, which is do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, which is a philosophy Hubbard was to live by throughout his life. Many of Crowley's beliefs have been incorporated into Scientology, especially in the secret upper levels of Scientology called the OT levels that we talked about. Following in Crowley's footsteps, Hubbard adopted some of the practices of the black magician, including the use of drugs and the use of affirmations. According to Hubbard's son, his father regularly used illegal drugs, including amphetamines, barbiturates, hallucinogens, including cocaine, peyote, and mescaline. So there's some psychedelics in there too.
He was tripping balls.
So that's also a big aspect to Aleister Crowley and stuff, is like psychedelics and stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. But after being discharged from the Navy in December of 1945, Hubbard did not head for home, where his wife and 2 children were living in Bremerton, Washington. Instead, he headed directly for a house in Pasadena, California, where an eclectic assortment of people lived, including one, Jack Parsons, the leader of the occult organization called the Ordo Templis Orientis, which is the U.S. name for the organization headed in England by Crowley. Parsons and Hubbard collaborated on the Babylon working, which is a sex magic ritual intended to summon an incarnation of Babylon, the supreme Thelemite goddess. So Hubbard was, from what we know, it sounds like he was participating in some of these dark magic rituals and things like that. So that's why people think he got a lot of inspiration from, Crowley and the Ordo Templis Orientis, as far as, some of the aspects of it. So the Church of Scientology admits to Hubbard's involvement with Parsons while claiming that it was for the purpose of naval intelligence. In the late 1940s, Hubbard practiced as a hypnotist.
Wow.
And he worked in Hollywood posing as a swami. The church says that Hubbard's experience with hypnosis led him to create Dianetics. So piecing together these hypnotic techniques, Freudian theories, Buddhist concepts, and the elements of other philosophies and practices, Hubbard came up with Dianetics, which he published in 1950, which he called the modern science of mental health.
Jeez.
So basically, Scientology is formed on this Dianetic practice where the patient working with a partner called an auditor recalls the past painful experiences in reverse chronological sequence, supposedly erasing their negative effects and attaining the state of clear. So basically, to make a long story short, when talking about Dianetics, he essentially created this new method and was pushing it as fact. Like this really works. This will really, he was trying to seem legit, but
it was scientific.
Yeah, that he created this essentially new form of scientific treatment for mental health. But of course, Dianetics was immediately opposed by the American Medical Association and the American Psychological Association, saying that his claimed results couldn't couldn't be corroborated. However, people were interested and made this book a bestseller because I think it probably was interesting to read, especially at the time, because it's like, think about 1950. It's like, that would have been like very ahead of its time as far as like what he was claiming and, things that he came up with that would help you, achieve the state of clear. It probably was an interesting read.
Yeah, probably was.
So auditors repeatedly put patients in a trance state to recall earlier similar incidents. Patients began to report past lifetime experiences. Hubbard incorporated belief in past lives into his evolving ideology, discussing the concept in his second Dianetics book called Science of Survival. The Hubbard Foundation began to collapse as the initial Dianetics craze wore off, and Hubbard's newfound emphasis on past lives exacerbated tensions with the Foundation's financial partners. By 1952, Hubbard was penniless and had lost control of Dianetics. So I think in the beginning, he thought, I think when you look at Hubbard, I think he's just kind of this really out there guy, this very, I think he's pretty deep because he's thinking about all these things, but he's definitely got like a very different perspective than social norm and things like that. So I think, I don't think necessarily he knew at that time when he wrote Dianetics that he was going to like create this grand religion and it was going to be everything that it is today, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think he did. I think he wanted to just...
Like, do you think he had it planned from the very beginning that I'm going to write this book, Dianetics, and then I'm going to create this religion called Scientology?
Well, no, I don't know if he did that, but I think when he started Scientology, he intended it to be a big, huge religion.
Yeah. Well, I think money played into this as well. Money plays into the creation of Scientology and his intentions for it majorly, because I think he thought like all these books were just going to continue to be a success, and he might just be able to be a successful, accomplished writer, and he might actually get legitimate status and reputation for it. And when that didn't happen, I think that's where he started thinking about, okay.
I think he wanted to have like power though over people and like fame. Like he wanted to feel like special, like a god, like that other guy, like higher and above people. So the only way to do that is through church. I don't think his intentions were as much about the money and the platform as much as it was about controlling people. A lot of people that start, like if you look at Jim Jones, he was, it wasn't for anything else other than controlling people. He was barely into the religious side of it. So sometimes you need a vehicle, something good enough for people to get behind, to believe you, to be able to control people. So I kind of do think it was all part of his process all along.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think there's a lot of factors that play into it, but let's talk about how Scientology, the religion itself, is actually born. So L. Ron Hubbard became interested in a type of lie detector called the electropsychometer, which he believed would yield better results in auditing. He obtained a franchise for this device, which he renamed the Hubbard Electrometer, or E-meter, which, if you don't know what the E-meter is, it's the little device has like a dial on it and like two almost like baton looking things. And the person being audited holds onto the batons, and then the person auditing, I think, watches the meter, and it's, supposed to tell them, different things, and, whether or not, I don't know exactly what it does, but
it doesn't, it's like people claim to know how to use it, or the people who run it know how to use it, but it's basically just telling people what's going on in their own mind. It's really fucked up, because you can be like, well, no. And they're like, well, yes, I have proof right here that this is what you're thinking, or that it's like so fucked up, like mentally taxing on people, and people have like trauma from being audited.
So he began calling patients pre-clerks, and within 6 weeks had created a new subject apparently out of thin air. Hubbard called his new subject Scientology, and in introducing it, he claimed to have discovered the human soul. Whereas Dianetics had addressed the body, Scientology involved freeing souls, which Hubbard called thetans, from supposed entrapment in the physical or material world and restoring their alleged supernatural powers. Hubbard established his first headquarters in Phoenix, Arizona, and awarded himself the degree of Doctor of Scientology. See, that's what I'm saying is I think it was also like a status thing for him too. Like you want, and a control thing too.
Definitely status.
You want to be taken seriously. He was like, he hadn't been taken seriously his whole life. And so
he wanted like people to look up to him. He had like a God complex.
Yeah, absolutely. So in April 1953, he wrote a letter proposing that Scientology be transformed into a religion. As membership declined and finances grew tighter, Hubbard had reversed the hostility to religion he voiced in Dianetics. So that's all I'm saying is like during Dianetics, I don't think he ever intended to turn in Dianetics. I don't think he intended to start the religion at all. Like I think it was something a later afterthought that he realized money, power, control, status, everything I want, I can create it for myself. Right. So at this point, he outlined plans for setting up a chain of spiritual guidance centers, charging customers $500 for 24 hours of auditing.
Wow.
Because he's cash poor, so he's trying to make this a business as well. And in December 1953, Hubbard incorporated 3 churches: Church of American Science, a Church of Scientology, and a Church of Spiritual Engineering in Camden, New Jersey.
Spiritual engineering.
Yeah. Again, his whole thing is like science mixed with
religion.
Religion and technology.
Spirituality, yeah.
On February 18, 1954, incorporation papers were filed in Los Angeles for the Church of Scientology of California, the first official Scientologist organization. The movement spread quickly throughout the United States into other English-speaking countries such as Britain, Ireland, South Africa, and Australia, and beyond. And to this day, they're completely global. Like, no matter where you live, do a Google search for Church of Scientology, and I'll bet you anything there's a Church of Scientology where you live, unless you live somewhere super rural. But they're in most countries, including Denver, which I thought was interesting. So Hubbard Hubbard himself headed up the Church of Scientology in its early years. In 1966, he resigned all offices and focused on developing post-clear operating Thetan levels. He spent most of his time during this period aboard a fleet of seagoing vessels staffed with young, particularly devout Scientologist volunteers. The Sea Organization, or Sea Org as they called themselves, became the elite of the Scientology movement. But this is what a lot of people don't know about L. Ron Hubbard, is that in 1972, he faced criminal charges in France, in which Hubbard returned to the United States and began living in an apartment in Queens, New York. When he was faced with possible indictment in the United States, Hubbard went into hiding in April 1979. He hid first in an apartment in Hemet, California, where his only contact with the outside world was via 10 trusted messengers. He cut contact with everyone else, even his wife.
Damn.
Whom he saw for the last time in August 1979. So basically what had happened is that in 1979, there were FBI raids during Operation Snow White, which is 11 senior people in the church's guardian office were convicted of obstructing justice, burglary of government offices, and theft of documents and government property. Operation Snow White was a criminal conspiracy by the Church of Scientology during the 1970s in order to purge or get rid of unfavorable records about Scientology and L. Ron Hubbard. So that was a big deal for them and did not look good on L. Ron Hubbard, which is hence why he went into hiding. And this project included a series of infiltrations into and thefts from 136 government agencies, foreign embassies and consulates, as well as private organizations critical of Scientology.
Wow.
Carried out by church members in 30 countries. So this was a huge deal, and they had a fight from the very beginning, because when they first started out, they briefly had tax exempt status as a religion, but then that was taken away because of these raids and realizing that they were doing sketchy and illegal shit. And so it was years and years and years that they were trying to get that tax exempt status back and be considered a legitimate religion.
So then they did.
Mm-hmm.
But they did, and then they've lost it again now.
No, they didn't lose it. No.
Oh, I didn't think so. You told me that the other day.
I don't know where that was.
Yeah, no, they're still tax free.
They are tax exempt. Yeah.
Crazy.
So L. Ron Hubbard on January 24th, 1986, died of a stroke at age 74 at his ranch in Cruston, California, and that is when David Miscavige, infamous David Miscavige, emerged as the new head of Scientology.
David the Savage should be
his name. We'll talk about him more in a minute. So we'll get into more of like what's going on with Scientology today and things like that here in a second. But lastly, I want to thank our last sponsor, Robinhood, for their continued support of the show. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission free. They strive to make financial services work for everyone and not just the wealthy. Non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence. Robinhood is a really cool app. I use it personally, actually. Yes. It's very easy to understand, especially for those that have never even looked at the stock market before or thought about investing in things. It's great because a lot of brokerages charge up to $10 for every trade, but Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees to trade stocks, and you get to keep all your profits, which is great. They've got easy to understand charts and market data, so you can actually look at reviews of stock, and it makes it very easy to understand. You can look at different sectors like entertainment and social media. They even have categories like female CEOs. So if you want to invest in a company that a female CEO, or where a CEO is female, you can sort it by that as well as all the other analyst ratings. It's a great way to learn how to invest and build your own portfolio. It's a great way to discover new stocks and track favorite companies with personalized news feed. You get custom notifications for price movements, so you'll never miss the right moment to invest. So love Robinhood quite a bit. It's super easy to use. It's a great way to learn how to invest. And it's commission free. So Robinhood is giving listeners a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help build your portfolio. Sign up at milehigher.robinhood.com. That's milehigher.robinhood.com. Definitely take advantage of that. Get a free stock. That's pretty cool. Thank you, Robinhood. All right, so Scientology, as we know it today, we know that they have a celebrity center, which they opened in the late 1960s, which is in Hollywood.
And they are super into the whole celebrity thing.
You want to talk about that?
Part about Scientology, just the idea that, they want to have as many famous faces as they can to make, because it does make more people interested. If Tom Cruise or what are you guys doing?
It's a marketing strategy.
Yeah, and John Travolta. I can never say his last name. Anyway,
who else is a Scientologist? I didn't know.
Who?
The girl from her name's Laura Prepon, I think. She is Alex from Orange is the New Black. Alex.
Oh, really? She's a Scientologist?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and
wild.
from That's So 70 or
That's So 70s.
Oh my God.
That's so Raven.
No, stop. Don't even embarrass me like that. So, what's this? How do you say it? It's 70.
That 70s
That's
show.
So 70 show.
That's 70s show. Oh my God. I'm embarrassed for your soul.
That fucking show. That girl is a Scientologist.
Which girl?
Laura Prepon.
Oh, her.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know what her name in that show is.
Her name isn't Alex, and is it? Oh, it
Alex
is.
in Orange is the New Black.
Oh, yeah.
With
okay.
Piper.
Wow, she is?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Girl. Yeah, so anyway, there's a ton of celebrities, and then they have this celebrity center thing, and they have these big events. It's all very lavish. Their events, their big meetings are very lavish. They want it to look like a fancy inner club. It almost has a sorority, fraternity-esque feel to the secrecy.
It's a fraternal organization for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, it's definitely an elite club.
Well, I think they do that on purpose because I think their idea is that it will draw in more members. And one of the things that they do now to draw people into any of their churches, and somebody actually emailed me, Francesca, she emailed me knowing we were going to talk about this, saying that she took one of their free personality tests.
Oh,
That's how they put it on their sign. If you've ever walked past the Church of Scientology, all of the buildings are super fucking nice. They look really nice. They spend a lot of money on their
big banks or something.
Yeah, really fancy churches.
Yeah.
And they do look like churches. But they offer free personality test if you come in and talk to them. So Francesca went in and took one of these free personality tests. And I just want to read real quick what she said about it because she thought it was interesting. But she said, being interested in Scientology and went inside of the building in Copenhagen, Denmark, and was spoke to in English and was persuaded, my boyfriend would state harassed to take a personality test. The situation was really odd. Personally, I think they are collecting data on people and also highlighting what sort of person is more likely to become a member of their church. She still has a personality test, which she sent me, and I didn't have time to look over all of it, but it's this very scientific looking personality test that I think maybe points out some things. And they gave her the personality test, and they also gave her a free DVD on L. Ron Hubbard.
Wow.
And they advertise this personality test at, I think, almost all the churches. Like, if you want to go, we should just go in and be like, hey, can we get his personality test?
Yeah, I want to try it, see what they would say. I wonder how similar it is to just like the Myers-Briggs personality tests.
It was called Oxford something.
I don't know. But some of the celebrities there, Tom Cruise, Kirstie Alley, John Travolta, Beck, Isaac Hayes, and others.
And obviously there's, people like Leah Remini that were in it for a long time.
Yeah. Katie Holmes, because she was married to Tom Cruise. Poor girl, she went through some shit.
God, seriously.
He just seems like freaky to me. Sorry if you're like a major Tom Cruise fan, but he just like weirds me the fuck out. He doesn't look like the nicest dude.
He seems so robotic to me.
Yeah,
too.
It's almost like scary.
Mind controlled almost.
I don't know. He seems like he like has a very like fake personality. I don't know. I just get asshole vibes from him.
But if you've ever been to Clearwater, Florida, they've literally taken over that town.
Yeah. I
was just there a few months ago with my brother, and we actually drove around. It's actually their spiritual headquarters. Mm-hmm. It's the Hollywood Inland is not the headquarters. And my brother and I, we were just driving around in circles around the main building, and just was like looking at all of the Sea Org members, because Sea Org members, they dress in these uniforms that look like a naval uniform. Because if you haven't realized yet, L. Ron Hubbard totally based his entire organization on the Navy, essentially, and the colors, the gold, the blue, the white,
that, like,
the uniforms definitely look like Navy uniforms. So if you ever go to Clearwater, Florida, there's a great beach there, but to get to the beach, you got to drive through Scientologyville, and they're everywhere. They got buses. There's like big ass they're the nicest buildings in town too. And they're the biggest ones.
Yeah, their buildings are they really advertise with their structures. Like in California, that Celebrity Center is like a huge blue building with like, it says Scientology
big
all huge
sign
across it. Yeah. They really want to stand out.
Which is like interesting, because no other church out there, I don't care how big of a mega church it is anywhere near to the size and magnitude of the Scientology buildings. It's pretty crazy. And according to Jeffrey Augustine, the author of the blog, The Scientology Money Project, the church has a book value of $1.75 billion, and about $1.5 billion of which is tied up in real estate. They do invest heavily in real estate, and they spend hundreds of millions of dollars on buildings and things like that. So pretty crazy. So we talked about how they obtained reaffirmed the church's tax exempt status in 1993 after they were under investigation for so long. They had to really
like a
clear
huge
their
celebration
name.
Too. There's like a video clip of them all, like when they found out it was this big event, and they were all like, "Yeah, no more taxes." It's just crazy to me. I don't think any of the churches should be tax free, but that's a whole other debate.
So I mean, they say the reason why they can claim that they're a church is because they do a lot of charity work and things like that. They do a lot of good, and
like playing devil's advocate from their side of view.
Yeah.
Like other churches shouldn't be tax free if they're not, like.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of like a religious organization being tax free, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, it is hard. I think it should be different taxes, but I don't know if it should just be like straight up tax free, or there should be a limit. It should all.
It definitely should be.
This is a whole nother debate. We can't even get into this.
It definitely should be re-looked at for sure.
Yeah.
But according to the official Church of Scientology website, there are now more than 11,000 churches, missions, and groups in 184 nations, and the movement welcomes more than 4.4 million new people each year.
That's crazy.
So they're massive.
I know someone that joined. It's so weird. She like just disappeared off everything too. All her social media gone.
But a lot of people do say that those are just kind of like blown out of proportion, and that the actual number of people is far less than what they say. So
I was gonna say that's like a lot.
All right, let's talk about the current leader of the Church of Scientology, David Miscavige. Interesting looking individual. And he is surrounded by lots and lots of controversy. In fact, his own father published a damning book called Ruthless: Scientology, My Son David Miscavige and Me. And not only that, obviously, actor Leah Remini produced the A&E series, which you haven't seen, is Scientology in the Aftermath.
And it's excellent. She is so amazing. I love her whole dedication to helping people that are still going through things, because I mean, just the amount of families and people that have been torn apart by Scientology is horrible, and people have lost everything, lost all their money, and have been completely separated from their family members, where they can't even talk to them, or they're basically excommunicated. They are
absolutely exiled from it.
And she's done a really good job of helping tell their stories. That show's very good if you want to learn more about Scientology.
Yeah, the show really talks about the controversies about Scientology, the, malicious tactics and practices that they do in order to shut people up. And, lots of things have come out through that show, and from Leah talking about her experiences and how when she was in it, she was told to cover up news stories that were possibly negative and so many different things like that. But David Miscavige is another one of those individuals who was actually born into Scientology, which a lot of people are actually born into it. Their parents were already Scientologists when
like other
when
religions.
They were born. But David Miscavige apparently left high school at the age of 16 with his father's permission to join the Sea Organization, which is a group of Scientology's most dedicated members. He wound up working directly with L. Ron Hubbard, and by age 19, he was leading the Commodore's Messenger Organization, a team that investigates problems within the church.
Interesting.
And in 1986, after Hubbard's death, David rose to his current position as a church leader. And many, many people, lots of defectors, and probably people in it, believe that he just literally took over. I
think he did.
He never gave anybody a question as to who was going to succeed Mr. Hubbard after he died.
Interesting. So this guy kind of just grabbed hold of reins and took over. He's a weird one too.
It's he saw a huge opportunity to take over this organization and
have some power. Because he's a little guy too. He kind of looks like he'd be the type that would crave power.
Yeah, he's and he absolutely does. And I don't know, he's definitely a controversial individual. But I thought this was interesting. One of the most talked about controversies surrounding Scientology is this alleged existence of something called the Hole, quote unquote, which is a supposed work camp where troublesome members of the church are detained and rewired.
Wow.
And actually, Leah Remini was the one who talked about this. The church denies the existence of the Hole, but many former Scientologists have spoken about it, including former church spokesperson Mike Rinder, who's in that show. The Hole as a place, so it's basically a place where there's a lot of people that believe that they're doing really fucked up shit to people, beating people, torturing people, possibly physical labor.
Yeah.
In order to rewire them, kind of brainwash them, break them down. Yeah, exactly.
Break them down, yeah.
And of course, the church 100% denies that completely. But one of the most interesting things about David Miscavige is that his wife is missing.
Yeah, well, he doesn't say so.
Right.
But no one has seen her since 2007?
She disappeared in 2006.
2006. So yeah, no one's seen her. That is the weirdest thing.
And she was once very public. Everybody saw her out in public.
And then she just disappeared. But he says she's fine. She's just out, not in public anymore.
That she's off working somewhere. But it's it is really weird.
It's very weird. And Lee Remini's thinks he did something to her.
Her current status is unknown. And yeah, Lee Remini filed a missing persons report.
Yeah.
And nothing came of it. It was unfounded because they're well, she has every right. She's an adult and they're saying she's not missing. So what's interesting is that in 2015, Shelley was reportedly spotted in public, according to a news outlet. An anonymous source told Scientology critic and blogger Tony Ortega that they saw Shelley entering a hardware store in a small town near the Church of Spiritual Technology headquarters in California. Apparently, the insider claimed she was being escorted by two men and looking thin and disheveled, almost like she was homeless. She was reportedly spotted again in April 2016, which we don't even know if this confirmed her or not, but it's very interesting. And I think what raises people's suspicions about the disappearance is the fact that David Miscavige has been accused of allegedly doing physical and emotional abuse on members.
Yeah. He seems like the type that would be like angry as fuck or like would lose his shit on people.
A lot of ex-members have come forward and said that David is a mean guy and has attacked them on numerous occasions. I think some of these people actually come forward on her show too. Even David's dad, Ron, agrees with this. And David Miscavige actually hired private investigators to follow his dad, Ron, around. Because he doesn't like what his dad is even like, this guy's a bad guy. He's got bad intentions. Everybody needs to wake up to who David Miscavige really is. His own dad. He wrote a book about it.
Wow.
Exposing his son who.
Yeah. Well, he's not full of shit.
So it's like, do that. Exactly.
Oh my God. And he just seems like it. I just feel like I get such bad vibes from that motherfucker. Sorry.
But he's been like hell bent on making this massive empire of Scientologists. And one of his, most successful methods for doing this is getting celebrities. So he was very instrumental in getting Tom Cruise to come on board and really.
Like, Tom Cruise is like little BFF.
Yeah, they're definitely like BFFs, like for sure.
BFFs.
They're definitely like both on the same level, probably Scientology wise. Like, I don't think people
he has so
realize.
much influence. They really value him because he has so much.
And he's been so like for the church and stuff. So yeah, they are very reportedly good friends. So we talked about the Sea Org a little bit. The Sea Organization. So for those that don't know, not all Scientologists are in the Sea Org, but the most dedicated ones usually are. And David Miscavige is in command of the Sea Org. It's a weird mixture of like military and like corporate management styles. And what's crazy is that the people that are, it's not like you get into the Sea Org and it's like you're introduced into this, a better life or something. Staff members are living in army-like conditions, receiving boot camp type punishments for misdeeds and holding militaristic titles within the organization, which we just watched an episode of her show where one of
he's in the second season.
It was a couple and one of the girl got into the Sea Org, but her husband didn't.
Yeah.
And it was like this big it ultimately led to her husband committing suicide.
Yeah.
Because he just felt so terrible and he kept getting in trouble for everything. Like they're very, very strict.
Well, and the suicide rate in Scientology, and they won't tell you this.
I don't know what the statistics is.
You can't find one because they cover that kind of shit. Yeah. But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of just stories like on Leah's show and like all types of people have talked about this. But there are cases of many people who commit suicide because they feel like unworthy or unclean, and because they think that if they kill themselves they'll just be slingshotted into another body, whatever they said. What'd they say? Your soul, like
implant, you go by the implant station, then you get another
you
body.
Hit up the implant station. So like they're not that worried about it, so they kill themselves because they're like, well, I suck in this life. It's horrible. Or their families are separated from them, or it's just been like so emotionally draining on them.
There's no escape.
Or they're being told that like you're having bad thoughts about something, or you did something bad and they didn't, but they think that they did, or they think that their past souls have done things. Like, can you imagine that stress, like actually believing that stuff? So
especially
really
when like somebody you love is rising up into higher, because that if you're not on the same level, then it gets to a point where the higher levels don't even associate with the lower ones.
Yeah.
What's crazy is that when a Scientologist joins the Sea Org, they're required to sign a contract agreeing to serve for 1 billion years. Billion years.
Fucking crazy. That's so dumb. How can you even legally sign a contract for what you won't be alive for? That doesn't even make sense.
According to Scientologists, they believe in reincarnation.
You're signing a contract through them. So
you're expected when you return in your next life to continue the Sea Org and continue as a Sea Org member. So how do they make
sure you fall through?
That's a good question.
Sounds like that contract's literally bullshit.
Yeah, and what's also crazy is they make kids sign this shit, like young kids that can't even can't get a license or can't get they make them sign it too without knowing what they're signing up for.
So wild.
And Sea Org members handle most of the important aspects and functions of the church. They do everything from cleaning the churches to fundraising, from delivering auditing services to investigating critics and shutting down negative news media, from cooking to executive management. Many de facto Sea Org members claim they were continually forced to work 20-hour days for just room and board and a weekly allowance of $50.
This sounds so similar to Jonestown. They were working 20-hour days for $5
I was waiting
a week.
for you to bring that up.
Really? It just sounds so similar. There's so many, like, I've just been thinking about how, like, if Jim Jones actually was successful, like, could he have ever risen to this? Because he had a lot of following. He actually did have a pretty big following. But it's very similar type.
I mean, it goes to show, though, the amount of brainwashing that occurs when you join Scientology to get you to a point where you're willing to work 20-hour days for $50 a week.
You're doing it for the betterment of the world, for yourself, for your religion. Like, it's so wild.
And when you join the Sea Org, all the members live together, they work together, they eat together, and they're not allowed to marry outside of the organization. Which in Florida, I drove past some of their like living quarters. It's like this big condo building where you can see all the Sea Org members walking in and out of and stuff in their uniforms. And most of them looked young. I was like, are these college kids? Like, it looked like kids just walking around a college campus, but they're all Sea Org members. I just wanted to like hop out and be like, so why are you doing this? It was funny. My brother had his camera like out the window.
Yeah, he was literally filming them.
He had the window rolled down like we were filming them. And then we drove past like a security person. They have like security people that stand outside on the street. And like I think he saw us and he like gave us this look. And so like I sped off. I was like, dude, put the camera down.
Oh my God.
Because dude, you hear like, no, like you hear they'll like follow you. They'll harass you. They'll, you know.
They don't want you filming them. That's for sure.
They don't want you interfering with them. Very, very weird. And if you try to leave, good luck.
Yeah, it's a very hard process.
And some former Sea Org members have said that if you do leave, they're like, oh yeah, sure, you can leave. But then they bill you for thousands of dollars for the teaching and training and the house and board and everything they provided you. Yeah. They're like, well, fuck you. Here's your bill for your time.
It's very hard to leave.
It's very hard.
One girl literally had to like escape. She was like in an office. She had to wait till someone left, and then she literally ran the fuck out of there because they kept being like, well, you can't leave yet. Oh, you can't do this yet. You can't. And it's so crazy what people go through with this. It's just like.
For what, though? And for what?
I know. It's
spiritual
so
enlightenment. It's like, you can get that on your own. So some other controversies surrounding Scientology is obviously the secrecy. The fact that they've been able to maintain control over like their literature, religious texts, symbols, all that sort of thing is actually pretty astonishing in this day and age. Very like impressive. They keep it really tight. Like you can't really find that much other than what they've released and what like former members have said about it. This I thought was very interesting, and I don't think a lot of people know, is they have something called Gold Base. Have you ever heard of Gold Base?
No.
It's a secret desert HQ of the Scientology Church and the controversial Sea Org group, which was actually reportedly central to Katie Holmes' marital split from Tom Cruise.
Interesting.
This place is surrounded by razor-sharp fences surrounding the entire 700-acre compound with spikes pointing in both directions. Jeez. They have motion sensors along the perimeter and a camouflage sniper bunker hidden in the hillside above.
Jesus.
And it's unclear whether it's to keep people out or keep people in or both.
Dude, I bet
it's like an Area 51 for Scientology.
Whoa, that is so weird. I wonder what they're doing in there.
It's located near the town of Hemet in Southern California, and for decades it was a secret even to most Scientologists. And it was actually brought into the spotlight amid claims that Holmes ended her 6-year marriage to Cruise over fears that he wanted to send their daughter Suri to join the Sea Org.
Yeah, she pulled her out of there quick. Poor Katie. She like disappeared after that. I haven't seen her around anywhere.
Oh, I know. Well, she was probably like, I got to get out of the spot.
I wonder if she is, though. Did she come back? I don't know. I don't think I've seen her.
But this place costs at least $37 million to develop it.
Damn.
It's bought by the church in 1978, and some 800 of the 6,000 Sea Org members are at the base at any given time.
God, that is so
And we don't know
crazy.
what's going on in there. We don't know. I mean, I think some of the seniors said, like, again, more fucked up shit is going on there. Although,
clearly, with all that security, that's not there for no reason.
Well, it's like, who's trying to bust in there? Like, why are they protecting it so much?
I think they're trying to keep people from leaving.
But David Miscavige and other senior Scientologists actually live and work there. And they have a castle-style film studio, which that's what the Scientology church says is, hey guys, it's just like our Hollywood. It's like our compound for recording.
We just have
media
spikes
and everything
going both ways for the fun.
We just have a sniper hidden
it's decoration.
In the hills. They have a ship
part of our
themed,
aesthetic.
Because L. Ron Hubbard lived there in the mansion that's there.
Well, that makes sense.
Until
Maybe he wanted to protect his
moved
ass.
out. They have a huge ship themed swimming pool. L. Ron Hubbard loved his ships and
ship
Navy.
themed. Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of lit. I bet that's kind of fun.
It's probably not fun being in there. But some other controversies.
Maybe it makes you walk the plank.
Seriously, though.
Well, I guess he's not there to make you do anything anymore. But.
Yeah. But some other controversies regarding Scientology is that they remove criticism from the internet. They have like an elite legal team of lawyers. Like if you go out and publicly write any articles
I'm sure they'll listen to this.
Recorded a video, like they might even respond to this podcast maybe. Who knows? I mean, hopefully
leave a comment.
Not.
Drop a comment, Scientology.
But yeah, they go and try to get any type of negative media taken down off the internet, off
anything
TV,
that's unflattering for them.
And they go to great lengths to protect their image. They spread lies about former members. They trick people into donating money. They use celebrities to science news stories. They use lawsuits to stop book releases. They sue everybody.
Yeah,
they had to sue the IRS.
They have a lot of money.
Over and over and over again before the IRS finally gave in. It was like, all right, you can have your tax exempt status. Like they've got that much money that they can.
And they have all these lawyers and shit. Yeah.
They can do this. And then in the meantime, they charge you thousands of dollars to take their courses and nobody bats an eye. That just blows my mind. It really does.
Wow.
But obviously with the show that Lee Rebney did, she's trying to bring legal action against the church. She truly believes that
she's trying to go after them.
The church has a malicious intent and is in the business of harming people, not helping people.
Yeah.
And that the abuse and all of these alleged claims of abuse and, people or the church turning a blind eye to parents that are, sexually assaulting their kids and things like that and not doing anything or not, nothing ever happens, just kind of fuels that argument, I think. Right?
Yeah, there was a girl that her father had molested her for years, but he was part of the Sea Org. So when she finally told someone, they were like, you shouldn't say those types of things about your father.
They just deny.
I was horrified. I was crying. Remember watching that one because it's just so fucked up for these people that are so controlled in this, and they feel like they have no one to go to.
It's really fucked up, and all the people, whenever you with these types of cults or organizations, I mean, when we start talking about whether Scientology is a cult or a religion, I think that it definitely leans more towards being a cult just based upon the defactors that have come forward saying what occurs there, the fact that they've been investigated by the FBI for years, they're under the radar of CIA. I mean, they're definitely, on law enforcement's radar. But what blows me away is that if these things are true, if these types of things, and the FBI was investigating them for human trafficking. I think in 2009 they were investigating the Church of Scientology for human trafficking because of these Sea Org members that were saying that were literally being treated as like slaves, like working for $50 a week and horrible conditions. And, we saw the girl you were just talking about, she talked about how as a kid in the Sea Org, they'd make kids go out and do crazy labor, building whole streets and sidewalks and all this crazy.
Need someone to build their crazy architecture everywhere.
Yeah. So they use, child labor and, so they were being investigated for human trafficking, but I don't think they ever brought any sort of criminal charges against them, which is interesting and makes you think, why is that? If they really are doing all these bad things, why hasn't this been with, can't remember his name, Waco, what's
Jim Jones?
No, David.
Miscavige?
No. What? No, the FBI raided Waco, Texas. They'll burn down the thing. What the Davidians? Sorry, the Davidians.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it reminds me of like the Davidians. Like, you know, the FBI went there and fucking raided that shit, ended up burning the whole thing down. You know, why hasn't there been any type of FBI raid or law enforcement raid on any Scientology establishments?
Because they have a lot of money. I don't know.
I think they're able to protect. I think the secrecy aspect to it is what protects them.
Yeah.
They keep it so tight and so sealed that nothing that shows any evidence gets out. You know,
and it takes a long time of you being in it to prove your loyalty before you're told anything important.
Again, they compartmentalize everything and all the information within all of the different levels of Scientology, you know, all the way up to the OT levels. I mean, who knows what Tom Cruise fucking knows about.
Oh, he probably knows everything there is to know.
I'm sure he sits out there like in their executive meetings and, you know, it's Tom and David Miscavige together talking about what they're doing. And it's like, what is their end game? What's the end goal for Scientology? What are they trying to do? Like, are they really just trying to spread this religion that they've created and, you know, self-enlightenment?
More and more and more.
They are. And they're continuing to grow. They're continuing to spend money and getting bigger and bigger.
But it's like, I mean, maybe they're not trying to do anything other than just make a fuck ton of money and control people, because at the end of the day, that's what it does. And like, you know, you can look at a church as a business, and a business that doesn't have to pay taxes. So it's a pretty good business to be in.
Yeah.
So I think money drives a lot of it. I mean, these people live very lavish lifestyles, the ones at the top. Like, it's all about fancy stuff, these huge events. I mean, they look like Met Gala balls.
It's crazy. It's like just wild. YouTube it. And like they're building Tom Cruise a new apartment penthouse or something like in this huge building that's like costing millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just from people's courses, because the thing is with Scientology is that it's cost so much money that it ends up being like over how much you would spend on a house for people just average on the lower end, and then it, you know, goes up from there, and all that money is going back towards these fucking people at the top.
David Miscavige's life, and you know. But they do a good job they really do a good job of like masking that stuff and being like, oh, well, we're using it for community service and, you know, spreading the message. And
I would love
building new churches. I'm
sure we'd never be able to do this, but it would be so cool to have a Scientologist on. I'd just be so interested to hear.
I don't know if they would, though.
I don't think they can.
I don't think they can either.
I definitely don't think they can.
I don't think
it would
they
have
would
been
be able to talk to
maybe
us,
an ex-Scientologist or someone.
Keep trying to poke holes and stuff, and they'd be like shutting that down.
Yeah,
probably
it's
be
really
getting angry.
Though.
It's just there's so many things about it. We could go on and on about Scientology because there's just so many alleged, you know, abuses and crimes, and there's conspiracies about people they might have possibly killed, and there's just all these different you know,
we could do like a part 2.
Huge claims without a lot of evidence and things like that. Even heard like they audition wives for Tom Cruise, like other Scientology women. They like march him in front of him and he chooses like who he wants and stuff, like crazy shit like that. So it's, I don't know. It's really interesting. But because of Leah Remini's show on A&E, the church has created an organization called Stanley.org, which is scientists taking action against discrimination. And just, I'm going to read their statement. It says, Leah Remini's irresponsible and spiteful A&E show spreads religious discrimination and hate for profit.
Wow.
To date, there have been more than 500 threats, including dozens of death threats, as well as acts of vandalism coinciding with airing of her series. People suffer, parishioners and their children, the church, and officers of the church all have been subjected to unprecedented number of threats, ranging from passing discriminatory insults to extreme threats of violence that require the involvement of law enforcement. Those making the threats to have, in some cases, specifically cited Leah Remini as their inspiration. So if that is in fact true, like, this is not good. I mean, it's almost like, you know, is her show doing more bad than good, or is it going to actually bring,
I think it's important that those people's stories are told. I mean, they're not making this shit up. I mean, if you're going to get mad at Leah, you're going to have to get mad at everyone else that's also a victim and telling their stories, you know? You're going to have to say that they're all full of shit too for profit. They're not getting paid. What do they have to gain out of this? The show is barely about Leah. Like, she's in between it. She interviews the people, but it's mainly stories of people who have been in the church, who've been part of it. So they really can't say it's bullshit. They can try, But
which they do. They're just
saying
literally
everyone on the
every
show is full of
claim.
shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally, they say everything she says is a lie. It's not true. It's been stretched. Whatever.
She's not only the one saying it though. It's backed up by tons of other people.
I think a lot of people are just scared and don't want to come forward.
She's not scared though. God, I would love to have that woman on our podcast. Wouldn't that be cool?
Fearless, man.
I love her so much. She's such a badass.
So yeah, closing thoughts. I think Scientology is a cult. I think it is.
I think
it's less religion, more cult, especially now.
I see it as more of just a business.
But it's
a scheme.
But I think there's definitely a scammy aspect to it for sure. Because it seems like money is the motivation. Like now at least. Like I think David Miscavige has kind of twisted it in a new direction as far as being a cash cow for him and for other elite members of the group, and has realized like, oh, people are dumb enough to sign up for this shit and pay thousands of dollars, potentially millions over years and years and years.
Yep.
But
basically dedicate their life to it.
The brainwashing techniques, the mind control stuff they use, the secrecy, the control, all resemble cult to me.
I agree.
And when you look at the beginnings and you look at L. Ron Hubbard as a whole, and you look at, how he got influences from other cults and things like that, it starts to paint a very clear picture that there was, control behind this from the very beginning, and, wanting to have this group of loyal followers. So I don't know. It's very interesting. I would definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts. Tweet us at MileHighPod or leave us a comment on YouTube. Let us know what you guys think about Scientology. If you've ever been into a Scientology church or taken their personality test, or just what your thoughts are. Do you think they're a cult? Do you think they're a religion? We definitely want to know. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of the Mile Higher Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and on iTunes. We really appreciate it. But that will wrap it up for us today. Any final words, Kendall?
That is it. We'll see you guys next time.
Stay safe
and stay woke.